What's up? It is the Sports Live on a Monday. The preseason officially over, and roster cuts are just about a day and a half away. Here on this Monday morning, talking about the Titans, a 3-0 finish to the NFL preseason, undefeated. What does that mean? We'll dive into some research that Sam and I did yesterday after that Titans 30-point performance in New Orleans. Malik Willis leading a go-ahead touchdown drive and then having to have another game-winning go-ahead touchdown drive later on in the fourth quarter. A lot of fun conversations after what I thought was a genuinely fun preseason football game to watch on a Sunday afternoon to get you primed and ready to go for 2 weeks from today, reacting to week one's result, Titans in Chicago. Who will make the 53-man roster, and are there any changes from Sam's 53-man roster that we had on Friday morning show? If you missed that show, go back and check that out. You can find it on YouTube and Facebook. A good conversation through Sam's final 53 roster projection. But we're going to also talk about Will Levis because he did not play in preseason game number 2, but he did, and again, leading 2 scoring drives, 24 points in 2 preseason games for Will Levis. And what does that mean? Big deal, small deal, no deal. We'll talk about Malik Willis and the tough decision that he has made for the Titans front office and coaching staff. And it's a Monday, so the age game is back, and we'll see if I lose again. It seems like I can't get on my winning ways. Brian Callahan might be 3-0 in the preseason. I'm 0 for ever in the age game. So, Sam, welcome in. Hope you had a good weekend, and let's get this thing off and rolling.
Hey, let's do it. I agree with you. Totally a fun preseason game. And, I think about all you can ask for in preseason action that now has Titans fans ready to roll for the regular season. The question is, does it mean anything? And what does it mean? And what are our takeaways? So it's going to be a really interesting conversation this morning, Austin. Interested in hearing your thoughts on what we saw yesterday from the Titans, from Will Levis, from the starting group. The perfect ideal start to this week here on a Monday morning. Before we get into it, everybody watching, share the show before we go. So hit the share button in the bottom right corner on Facebook. Take that YouTube link, send it to a friend, send it to a group chat. Find the Titans fans in your life, introduce them to A to Z Sports. Let them know about the conversation we're having this morning, and just share. That's the best way to support us and grow the A to Z Sports family here before we kick it off on a Monday morning.
Yep, we'll soon officially welcoming the A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan, our Titans reporter for A to Z Sports.com, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Link to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. We got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help you out as well. Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans and go get a better coverage for you. Save money with a better rate and better coverage. Get a link today and a quote today using our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ. So, a lot of things will happen with the Titans roster from right now until they will officially announce the 53-man roster and the 38 cuts to make, because there's 91 guys on this roster. So 38 cuts will be made over the next 30 hours or so leading up to 3 o'clock Central Time Tuesday afternoon. But let's talk about what we saw yesterday. And that was a 30-27 win for the Tennessee Titans. 30 points. Man, it hasn't happened in 35 consecutive regular season games. And this one doesn't count. But it still was good to see offense being put up and the Titans finishing the preseason 3-0 for the first time since what, Sam? 2003? Is that right?
2003. That's right. When they went 12-4, by the way.
Oh, yeah. So we'll talk about that here in a second. But Brian Callahan, the head coach, really proud of how his 91 guys on the roster fought through the 3 preseason performances.
Unbelievable effort and work by our team this preseason. Just I understand that preseason records have no bearing on regular season success. It's not predictive in any way, shape, or form. But for the guys that suit up and play and give everything they have in the back of the roster, it means something. So that was really cool. And just to see how hard our team has played in the preseason gave us chances to win all these games. And that was what I think is the most important part of all of this is the effort that they've shown has given us an opportunity at the end of games to win. And so that's been really cool. Got to point out Thomas Odukoya and both Nick Petit on that cover down field goal. I think everyone got excited about last week's field goal, and this is the consequence of long field goals sometimes is you put yourself in a little bit of harm's way. But then that effort, that relentless effort to go chase that play down really saved the touchdown and ultimately probably won us the game. So really awesome by them. It's good to see our one start the drive, opening drive. We went 7 first downs, 0 third downs. And again, I understand their starters weren't playing, but our operation was good. We executed the right way. And then we scored on 3 possessions in the first half. Put our defense in a tough spot to open the second half. They handled the sudden change well, held them to a field goal in plus territory. And then we didn't punt until the third quarter. So I apologize to Stonehouse. We attempted to get him some punts, but we didn't have too many of them early on, which is great. Too many penalties in the second half. And then we need to get touchdowns, not field goals, when we're close. So we had some possessions at the 21, the 8, and the 13 that we needed to get 7 instead of 3. So those are 4-point losses to us, and that's what it is. But overall, pretty good day for us. I think offensively and defensively is good to finish out the preseason the way we did.
3-0, right? And look, it wasn't perfect, right? You talked about 3 field goals instead of potentially 3 touchdowns. That's a difference of 12 points there on the scoreboard that could have made the difference. But I think overall, losing has happened so easily for this franchise the last 2 seasons, and having so much changed and be able to finish games and win 3-0 in the preseason. And Brian Callahan said, it doesn't do anything or correlate towards the regular season. We'll dive through that. But Sam, you kind of mentioned the last time the Titans were undefeated in the preseason, which would have been 4-0 back in 2003, 12-4 regular season. I don't know if that's what that means for this team, but your take on 3-0 in the preseason for this Titans team.
Yeah, I mean, I think Brian Callahan is absolutely right. The Titans played very hard all preseason. The Titans gave themselves a shot to win every game in the preseason. And really, Austin, one thing that you have to be optimistic about, or at least the head coach has to be optimistic about, is the way that they finished games. I mean, this was not 3-0 where they just kind of coasted to 3 straight victories. It was a lot of hard-fought games, including last week in Seattle, where it's a 59-yard field goal to get them to take the lead, and then they lose the lead, and then they have to go down and deliver another clutch scoring drive at the end of the game. Same thing yesterday in New Orleans. It's multiple drives at the end of the game to finish a game. And so if you're Brian Callahan, you have to be very excited about where your team is at. It requires your depth players to execute. It requires your team to play clean football. It requires guys to play 4 quarters with, intensity. And so whether you're talking about the starting unit and Will Levis and what that group was able to do yesterday, or you're talking about the reserves and just kind of how your depth looks, winning in the preseason is always encouraging. Is it indicative of wins? Maybe sometimes it's not. But it's absolutely going to continue the hype train that has been this Tennessee Titans offseason and roll it on into Soldier Field with Titans fans feeling really good about their team.
For sure. So what does it mean? Let's take, and Sam and I went through this yesterday after the game. We went through the last 3 preseasons since they moved to 17 regular season games and 3 preseason games. How many teams have gone undefeated in 2021, 22, and 23 in the preseason, and what happened to those teams in the regular season? So 16 teams all over those 3 years went undefeated, 3-0 or 4-0 in one case because of a Hall of Fame game performance in the preseason. And here's what happened. How about this, Sam? How about you can chew on this? You are more likely to make the playoffs slightly going 3-0 in the preseason than you are to have 6 wins or less. And so you're most likely, according to these 3 seasons, to be between 7 and 9 wins and miss the playoffs. So I'll break it down completely. 7 of the 16 undefeated teams in the preseason during those 3 years finished between 7 and 9 wins, all missed the playoffs. 4 of the 16 teams had 6 wins or less, and 5 of the 16 teams that went undefeated in the preseason the last 3 seasons before this one made the playoffs. 2 of the 5, the Bills and the Chiefs in 2022, won a playoff game. The Chiefs won 2, and that's the year that they lost to, actually that was 2021. That was the year that they lost to the Bengals in the AFC title game after the Bengals beat the Titans earlier in that playoff. So 5 teams undefeated to make the playoffs. Those 5 teams are the Steelers last year, 10-7. They lost to Buffalo. They limped into the playoffs, but they made it. The Ravens in 2022 were 10-7. They lost in the wild card to the Bengals, another playoff team. In 2021, there were 3 of them. The Chiefs and the Bills, who we mentioned, who are both really good teams at 12-5, 11-6, and won a playoff game. And then the Patriots, 10-7, losing to the Bills in the wild card. So if you're not the Bills or the Chiefs, you're a limping into the playoffs type team with a 10-7 record, and you get bounced in the wild card round if you go undefeated in the preseason. Now let's flip it. Let's go to the teams that did not have good seasons. You've got the Broncos in 2021, went 3-0 in the preseason, Sam. They started 3-0 in the regular season before crashing and burning to a 7-10 record, and Vic Fangio was fired. Then you have the Bears in 2022, undefeated preseason, went 3-14 and earned the top pick, traded that to Carolina, and then we know what happened with that. And also in 2022, the Texans went undefeated in the preseason. They were 3-13-1. If you remember, Lovie Smith won the last game of the season and then was subsequently fired, and they earned the second pick that earned them C.J. Stroud. So then you also have the Commanders a year ago, undefeated in the preseason, and were the second worst team in football, and they got Jaden Daniels. Then the Raiders in 22, 6-11 was their record in the first year of Josh McDaniels, and he was fired midway through the next year. So, you know, there's success, but there's also really, really bad, right? It's like you're just as likely to be a playoff team as you are a bottom feeder and picking really high or firing your coach. And then you're also just as likely to be right there in the middle. I mean, it's all over the place. 3-0 in the preseason doesn't really mean a lot unless you're the Chiefs or the Bills or the Ravens, who were undefeated in the preseason for like 7 straight years. But there you go. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of described the idea that like the preseason is not indicative of what a team is going to be in the regular season, right? Like these teams win in the preseason for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes you win because you're a really good team with really good depth that can outperform everybody else's depth. Sometimes you win in the preseason because you play your starters more than your opponents, and so you run up the score and score a lot of points. Sometimes it's just guys that are not going to make your roster are better than another team's guys that are not going to make the roster, and that doesn't mean that you're going to beat them in the regular season or not. So I think when you break down like preseason records, you do have to sort of look at the performance of the guys that matter, figure out why a team is winning, figure out whether that's an indicator of success or not. And that maybe is a little bit more telling. I mean, I'll give an example, right? Because Jason asked, well, how are the Bears doing in the preseason? It'll be funny, Austin, because the Bears also went undefeated in the preseason. They went 4-0 in the preseason. The Bears outscored their opponents by 68 points in the preseason in 4 combined wins, which has only been done 6 times in the last 25 years. All 6 of those teams made the playoffs. 2 of them won the Super Bowl. That's probably a more extreme example of like, all right, when you're super dominant in the preseason, what does that mean versus just winning 3 games in the 3? I mean, you just looked at the era of, you know,
the last
3 preseason
you
games.
Could have gone back
And it was shocking to me how many teams there were that have done it in that time frame. So I think when we have this conversation about the Titans, when we have this conversation about the preseason and what it means, for me, I need to look a little bit more into the details and nuances of how the Titans played football. And that I think will hold more weight than like the simple record of it all.
Yeah.
Because
and let's flip it to that, because Will Levis, I think everybody understands that the Tennessee Titans season is dependent on how Will Levis plays, whether he plays well, average, or is not very good, and the Titans have to make a decision after that. But Will Levis had 4 series at quarterback, and 2 in the first game, did not play in the second game, and then 2 yesterday in the preseason finale. 4 drives, 24 points, 3 touchdowns, 1 field goal. I mean, you're talking about a team that hasn't scored 30 points in a game in a regular season in 35 attempts consecutively. And Will Levis has 4 drives and has put up points on the board in all 4 of them in 2 games that he's played. So let's ask this question simply, and we'll come back to some others because I saw Sam favorited a few comments, and we'll get to those and a lot of you guys here in a moment. But Will Levis scores 24 points, going 4 for 4 in his Titans preseason drives. Is this a big deal, a small deal, or a no deal? Is this a big deal, a small deal, or a no deal that Will Levis, 24 points, 4 for 4 scoring drives in that time? So big deal, small deal, or no deal. But first, hey guys, we've been talking about it. It's not game week, but it is camp week for DeAndre Hopkins. The D-Hop Youth Football Camp is coming up just 7 days away. And Sam, there's new prices available. You can get a great deal because now if you sign up for the D-Hop Youth Football Camp, and I'm literally going to post the link right there in the chat, they've cut the prices down in half because it is crunch time now. Your son or daughter, 9 through 15, needs to go to DeAndre Hopkins' first Titans Youth Football Camp in Nashville, Nissan Stadium, September 1st on the afternoon, 1:30 to 4 o'clock. And if you use our promo code ATOZ20, that's ATOZ20, you get 20% off. So you can go to the D-Hop Youth Football Camp for $43.
Come on.
$43. I mean, it's that easy. So ATOZ20 for 20% off. I just posted the link in the chat. So that's $43 for your son or daughter, 9 through 15. 8-year-olds with experience in flag or regular football can go too. But that's $43 right there. So do that. Samuel will be there. We've got some content coming up with DeAndre Hopkins later in the week. More on that. So check out the DeAndre Hopkins Football Camp. Again, the link is in the chat. It's September 1st. That's Sunday, 1:30 to 4 p.m. $43 if you use the code ATOZ20 at checkout. And you're on an NFL field with a future Hall of Fame wide receiver. You can't beat that right there. So, Sam, to the chat you go, and we're asking big deal, small deal, or no deal. Will Levis leads the Titans to 24 points, 4 for 4 scoring drives in his Titans preseason. Big deal, small deal, or no deal? What are you seeing from the chat?
Jake says small deal. We got a big deal from Mario here. Small deal from Alonzo and Michael. We got big deal from Willie from American Tough, from Jaden Dupree, who says you got to keep building that confidence. The Crooks says small deal. Big deal from Corey. Big deal from Charles. Jeff says it's a small deal. It's mostly against backups. Eric says it's a small deal. Michael Snyder says it's a big deal. Titans Kyle says it's a small deal. We've got no deal from Rooney, our first no deal. Another small deal from Maven and Andrew. Absolutely no deal from Darren and Steven. Hello Lady says no deal. We've got a small deal from Joshua and Alex and Andrew. We've got a small deal from Hammer and Dennis. Linwood says it's a big deal. We've got another no deal. We've got a big deal from Jesse. We've got a small deal from Sports Fan. We've got a small deal from Bobby. So kind of all over the map here, Austin. Probably small deal is the most common answer, but relatively split. I feel like Titans fans are, can go either way on this one.
That's bizarre. I think, one, there's no way in hell that this is a no deal. I just don't think that can be an option. Like, Sam, do you agree with me that we can eliminate no deal from the conversation? Or, I mean, maybe you disagree and you think no deal is a fair answer here.
I do not think it's no deal, but I do think it's fair because,
Okay.
I mean, you gave the reason for no deal. You already pitched the reason for no deal, Austin, and it's the fact that 3-0 in the preseason results in the playoffs 5 out of 16 times in the last 3 years. And so, if I'm a Titans fan,
it results in a 6 wins or less, a top 10 pick, guaranteed.
Just as frequently, pretty much. Like
4 out of 6, 25% chance you get a top top 10 pick, and then like a 7% chance you get a playoff spot.
Yeah, I think you kind of made the argument for no deal in saying that. And whether I don't believe it's no deal, but if you are coming at it from that approach, look, it was mostly against backups.
Yeah, but again, like let's say this, like
actually,
the Titans won a game. They won a game, and Levis was in yeah, he didn't play in the second game that they won.
Sure.
So,
well, yeah, but I mean, we're talking about Will Levis and what
Yeah.
he did with 4 drives and 24 points and that success. And I get if you're a Titans fan, right? They didn't play any of those drives against a starting defense, and it does look different against a starting defense. And 3-0 is cool. You're happy to win the games. I understand where the no deal argument is coming from that perspective, though.
Okay, so I did put up a poll on YouTube here as well. So big deal, small deal, no deal. Will Levis scores 24 points, 4 for 4 in his Titans preseason drive in scoring drive. So I will go. I think this is a big deal, and it's a big deal in the fact that the offense and where did it go? So, Rodney, my guy Rodney on YouTube says big deal, efficient and consistent. And I'm looking at, I'm not paying attention to 3-0. Like that is 3-0 in the preseason is about your guys that played in the second half. Will Levis, 0 snaps in the second half. He barely had some snaps in the second quarter because Mason Rudolph came in, in the second half of the second quarter. We're there. So Will Levis was able to get the Titans a lead and start sharp and execute in different types of situations. He was able to convert in the red zone in touchdowns. He was able to make the right throws, make the right reads, and play from a clean pocket and have success doing that. He was 11 for 13 passing, and his 2 incompletions were 2 kind of fade route shots to Calvin Ridley in the end zone that are 50-50 balls that led to, one led to a field goal yesterday, and the other was in the first game against the Niners. They ended up scoring on the drive later on with when he snuck that in there. But like those are incompletions you're totally fine having because they were either a Calvin Ridley touchdown catch or an incomplete pass out of the back of the end zone. And so he's 84% completion percentage in the preseason. That is the highest completion percentage of any quarterback in the preseason who attempted at least 10 pass attempts. That's according to Titans Film Room on Twitter. And I think that's good because you're looking to see like the main goal from Will Levis in this offense is increase his completion percentage, which he has. It's be okay with being boring, which he has. And it's also take care of the football. And I think he's done that in both of his outings. And they've also scored points on every drive he's been out there. That's not sustainable. I'm not expecting it to be sustainable, but I think that's a big deal for confidence in so many new things around him. Because what does he have from last year? No DeAndre Hopkins. He's got Chig from last year. He's got Tajay from last year. He didn't have, Josh Wiley hadn't been out there because of the concussion. Peter Skoronski, sure, but an NPF and Dylan Radins are actually starters this year. So there's so many new things around him, and he was able to be, as Rodney says, efficient and consistent in his 4 drives in his 2 games. I think it's absolutely a big deal. Like, I'm not saying Will Levis to the Pro Bowl. I'm not saying Titans to the playoffs. But if the Titans are going to make the playoffs or contend for a spot, Will Levis and this offensive line and the whole unit have to be gelling in the first month of the season, which starts in 2 weeks. It's a big deal.
Yeah, I think it matters. And I think, my problem with calling it a big deal, Austin, is your argument for a big deal is confidence at the end of the day. And there is something to that, building confidence in this new scheme and this new system under Brian Callahan and Will Levis building up his confidence. And look, I'll be the first to admit, right? The Titans offense has not looked good in practices really at all to me. And it is more encouraging to watch them have success in a game, whether it's against a first team defense or a second team defense or whatever it is. Like, your starters are supposed to march down the field and have success against the second team. And that at least tells me that this Titans offense is at least doing what they're supposed to do. So it does matter. But if you go in and you lose in Chicago, it doesn't matter what happened in the preseason. your confidence doesn't matter anymore.
I think. I'll let you finish your point, and then we'll come back to that.
Like to me, I agree with you. It is a good sign for the Titans offense heading into the season. It's a good sign for Will Levis. Totally agree. He has done everything you could ask him to do. 11 for 13 in both of his preseason appearances, 24 points in 4 drives, 24 points in 32 offensive plays with over around 150 passing yards. It has been absolutely efficient, nearly perfect in every way that you could ask for your offense. And yet, are Titans fans really going to care if you go and you lose to the Bears in week 1 and you're 0-1 and Will Levis has some struggles? No. All of a sudden, the preseason is insignificant compared to the actual results against an actual first-team defense. We have not seen this Titans unit do it against a starting group yet, and because of that, I cannot get jumping all in with big deal because you got to be able to play against a starter. It matters, right? It's more encouraging. It leaves me more optimistic about the offense going into the regular season than I was without this appearance,
Right.
without this 2-game stretch. But, you start 0-1. I'm not talking about the preseason game against San Francisco or New Orleans anymore.
Well, okay, so you're small deal. Is that your answer?
Yeah, I'm a small deal.
Okay.
It does matter, and it does move the needle for me, but
Sure.
not significantly where I can hang my hat on this, beyond taking it for what it is, which is preseason success.
All right, so Gary 2 times says, I bet if the preseason was a complete disaster, the show would be about big deal, about how bad the Titans look, the same way y'all did a show about a bad practice. I mean, we did a show about a bad practice, but I don't think we were saying the sky is falling. Just like I'm saying that it's a big deal for me to see Will Levis put up 24 points on 4 drives and score on all 4 drives. He's not making the playoffs or the Pro Bowl just yet. I'm not anointing him as the next guy to get a contract, but I think it's a big deal for the season. So I think there's a lot of nuance. It's not all in or all out like social media tends to make it. So I think, Sam, you bring up the Bears thing. Like, if you lose to the Bears, it doesn't matter. Like, I get the point, right? But like when we're talking specifically about Will Levis, you can have confidence in Will Levis if the Titans lose the Bears. It just depends on how it happens. Right? Like if the Titans crap the bed against the Bears and Will Levis throws an interception and gets sacked and fumbles because J.C. Latham gets beat off the edge and he wasn't ready for it and they punt a bunch of times, they can't move the football, then yeah, then that means the preseason is nullified. But if the Titans go out there and score 3 touchdowns on offense, maybe kicking a field goal, and if they put up 24 points in week 1 at Chicago and they lose 27-24, or hell, they lose 31-24 or something.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like you still, I think that's a good first game for Will Levis. The Titans are 0-1, but it doesn't mean that you're like, damn. Like you can beat the Jets next week.
Look, I mean, it depends what your expectations for the season are or your hopes for the season are as a Titans fan. Like if your hope for the Titans this season is to make the playoffs and you come out and you lose 27-24 to the Bears in week 1, that's
to be the Jets.
That's significant, right? That is significant loss. If your expectation is Will Levis shows progress, looks like the quarterback of the future, and then, the record is the record, then there are ways that you can take building blocks out of the season beyond win-loss and feel good about where you're at as an organization.
Yeah, and that's
right?
and like
it's important to contextualize that though, because
that's what I'm answering this big deal, small deal, no deal about Levis. Like I'm saying like what I saw from him. And here's something that I just want to throw out to you real quick. I think that for the first time in the preseason, Brian Callahan had a clear plan for that opening drive that was obvious and like, oh, okay. And here's what I'm looking at. They ran a couple screens on that opening drive, right? Who they play in week 1, the Bears, who have some guys that can pin their ears back and say, let's go test these unproven tackles. Let's go test Dylan Radins and Skronsky and Cushenberry by blitzing and getting after Will Levis and knock him off first. Well, the Titans just put in the back of their mind, hey, they can throw this little screen to Nick Vannett, who you've never heard of, and he can run down there and gain 15 yards. They can throw a screen to Tony Pollard or Tajay Spears, and Tajay Spears will jump over the rest of the defense and crowd surf his way for a first down. Like, so there's things that I think Brian Callahan planted seeds in the Bears defensive minds yesterday that I think hopefully the idea is to say, let's have the Bears defense stay on their heels and not be up on their toes. And I think that is where I thought the screens came from.
Yeah, Nick says a lot of screen passes, and we've seen a lot of screen passes. I will say the last week in practice, it's been a lot of screen passes. Like the Titans have been working on that. Kind of a double-edged sword. You know, you don't, if the screens don't work, if they're not well executed, if you're not getting what is the DJ Uiagalelei stat where it was like negative 0.1 air yards at halftime because Florida State was running a bunch. Like that's what you risk if you're not successful on the screens, is being like, Will Levis hasn't thrown the ball down the field really at all. The spin zone of it is you simplify things for your quarterback. You make Will Levis's life easier and in turn set up deeper throws that are going to be more wide open. I mean, I don't think there was really a difficult throw that Will Levis made in that game, which that's not, I'm not saying that to take point. Any. I'm not taking, I'm not saying that to take anything away from Will Levis. I'm saying that as a tip of the hat to Brian Callahan. And what you're trying to do in this offense is that it's not super hard. And then, I mean, we know that Will can make the special throw when he needs to make the special throw. But if you can make, Tyler Boyd running wide open 20 yards down the field and just go chunk play for chunk play, you feel really good about that. And it's the efficiency that ultimately matters. So
absolutely,
like, I do agree with you. I think like it holds weight to me, but like, that's why I can't say it's a big deal, Austin, because you don't know what this unit looks like against a starting defense yet. And yeah, it was nice to see it look efficient and easy and cool against the Saints backups. Right. But what does the Bears starting defense do with that? What does the Jets starting defense do with that? And if it's not as fluid, and if it's a loss, if there's more struggles, nobody's going to be sitting here thinking, hey, but we looked really good against the Saints.
Absolutely. But so Ty Kendrick says, like the show, views are higher than normal. Yeah, pop on in here. It feels good right now with the season right around. So I'm going to get to the YouTube poll that I just put up there about 12 minutes ago. So big deal, small deal, no deal. Will Levis scores 24 points, 4 for 4 in his Titans preseason drives. Sam, big deal, 41%. Ooh, no deal, 12%. So small deal is your answer. 47% small deal. I went out of order just to
okay.
Some suspense. So 47.
I mean, small deal, big deal. People are pretty
41. Yeah, pretty interesting right there. All right. Let's get to the next conversation, because I think this is going to be where you guys in the chat will have so many different directions to take this, because I think this is a tough 30 or less hours for the Titans front office and coaching staff, because there's a lot of players that deserve to make this roster, but they're going to have to make some very difficult decisions. And so this question we've got for you guys today: who will be the hardest Titans player to cut this week at the NFL roster deadline? Who will be the hardest player?
Tough couple of days here.
Yeah. It's Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central. So who will be the toughest cut for the Titans to make in the next day and a half at the roster deadline? But first, Farm Bureau Health Plans, easy way to cut down that your coverage rate for your health coverage, and you can get a better plan for a lower rate with Farm Bureau Health Plans. They've served Tennesseans for over 78 years, and they can make it better for you as well, just like they did for Zach Bingham 3 years ago, saving 20% per month on his health coverage, but actually getting better coverage, not having to pay out of pocket for the dentist or for his contacts with his vision coverage, being able to have a lower deductible that's right for his situation. And it's all about your situation too, because that's where Farm Bureau Health Plans really comes in. It's not cookie cutter. It's not option A, B, C, or D. It's option, what's your situation and how can we do what's right for you, and getting it done. That's what they did with my parents as their situation has changed earlier this year. They can do that for you, whether you're a single entrepreneur, independent contractor, whether you have a growing family or you're empty nested, need that next level of coverage too. Farm Bureau Health Plans can take care of you, and go check them out with our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. BetMGM is the sportsbook born in Vegas, and you can use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM to get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up, and whatever your first wager amount is, that money goes back into your account in the form of a bonus bet for a second chance to win big. That's the way to do sports betting. Football right around the corner. I wish, Austin, I could have had bonus code ATOZ Sports because, hey, your boy was on a run with the no runs first inning. I was doing well for myself, and then old college football, the thing that I bet all the time and lose all the time on. I don't know if I've ever won a college football bet in my life. I rode heavy with the Florida State Seminoles, and I lost big. I wish I had the bonus code, but you can. If you don't have a BetMGM account, sign up. Use that bonus code. And if you lose week 1 of the college football season, guess what? Money back into your account. Sportsbook born in Vegas, BetMGM.com.
If I could go back and find it, somebody popped in the chat and says, "Hey, I'm late. Did Sam see that that Florida State won by 40?" Oof, because you said that was going to be.
Listen, I bet the spread. I bet the alternate spread. I bet the alternate spread at halftime.
Tough.
I bet the alternate spread at the end of the third quarter. And I kept waiting for Florida State to show up to that football game, and then they just didn't. And yeah, that sucked.
Brutal. All right, Sam, I'll send you to the chat. We posted a question out there, a lot of comments. Like, I mean, we're pushing 200 comments in the last minute and a half, 2 minutes since asking it. Who is the hardest Titans player to cut in the next 30 hours? So, Sam, I'll send you to the chat and see if you can keep track of who the most popular answer looks to be.
Yeah, I'm going to just kind of run down it real quick. We'll go rapid fire and see what most people are saying. I've got Oliver, Farley, Malik Willis. I've got Burks, Bryce Oliver, Caleb Farley, Bryce Oliver, Malik Willis, David Martin Robinson, Malik Willis, Mason Kinsey, Bryce Oliver or David Martin Robinson, Mason Rudolph, Bryce Oliver, Malik Willis, James Williams, David Martin Robinson, Bryce Oliver, Malik Willis, David Martin Robinson, Bryce Oliver, Malik Willis. So it's a split between these three guys: Malik Willis, David Martin Robinson, Bryce Oliver. Austin, my guy, is brought up in that group for me. One of those guys I have making the team. Right. David Martin Robinson makes the team for me. So I don't think he's getting cut. I think Malik Willis, it is what it is. Bryce Oliver is the hardest cut for me. For a Titans team that has, you can give Bryce Oliver / Mason Kinsey for me. Mason Kinsey, because of all the years that Mason Kinsey has been cut and after a camp, this has been like his strongest camp, his strongest effort of camp thus far. And the way that it's played out over the last week with the broken pinky, not being able to play in the game, with just the number crunching and him probably being on the outside, makes that a tough cut. Bryce Oliver is additionally hard because, you know, Titans fans know how in love they've been in years past with undrafted free agent wide receivers. UDFAs is like a thing for the Tennessee Titans. Who's the guy that we're going to keep sneak onto the roster and hope he has a big impact? And Bryce Oliver has been really, really good and gotten better as camp has gone on. He had a connection with Malik Willis pretty much right away. And at the start of camp, Austin, I was just kind of like, okay, Bryce Oliver, undrafted free agent. Who cares? Loaded room. And then
the first time I noticed him was that stadium practice, right? When Malik had an incredible day and it just kept going.
Malik was going to Bryce Oliver, and you're just kind of like, all right, it's Bryce Oliver, though. And then, you know, like, who is this guy? He's wide receiver 8, 9, like he's somewhere really far down there. And then, you know, more practices keep coming. You keep calling his name. You keep noticing him, and you go, hold on a minute. But it was always against the threes and playing with the threes, and it never just kind of clicked. And then really this last week, he gets into a practice with the twos and with Mason Rudolph, and it was going against sometimes the starting defense. And Bryce Oliver has a 40-yard touchdown grab. Malik Willis comes in for a 2-minute drill, and it's another 50-yard bomb, and it's Bryce Oliver wide open again. And you start realizing that as a wide receiver, Bryce Oliver has really, really done himself a lot of favors to make this team. It carries over into the game yesterday, 2 touchdowns. Just a guy who's come in out of a small college and done absolutely everything right that you could ask, done everything possible to potentially make this team. And when you crunch the numbers, there's just not a spot for him. Like I don't see a way where Bryce Oliver, who has not been involved in the return game at all, makes the team as a 7th wide receiver. That would shock me. So I think he gets cut. I would like to see him back on the practice squad for sure. I think he has definitely earned that position. So he's not going to make the team, and that's going to suck because he's definitely earned it.
And I think I tweeted yesterday that Malik Willis to Bryce Oliver is the Titans preseason version of Billy Volek to Drew Bennett. Back in before your time, Sam, when Billy Volek and Drew Bennett, I think that was 04, 05, combined for 12 touchdowns in like a 2-month span. They were unstoppable. That's what this felt like, is those guys have a connection, but there's just not. And a question that I got on that Twitter thread was like Jamar Edmonds. Like, is Oliver a fit for special teams? I'm like, not that I've seen, right? It's like I haven't noticed Bryce Oliver either returning punts or kicks or being
he hasn't been given opportunities to return punts or kicks. He's not viewed as a returner. He has not really been used as a gunner.
And I think that's the interesting dynamic about Youngstown State, the Penguins, right? The Gwens, as they call them. So when you're at a Youngstown State or you're at a small school where you're the dude, Bryce Oliver's not playing special teams at Youngstown State. No, they got guys like me playing special teams at Youngstown State, right? Like he's out, so he's out there playing every rep as a wideout. He's getting nearly 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns his second to last year, and having a big year. Like Bryce Oliver doesn't play special teams, and so I don't know what his abilities are, but I think he
has not been somebody that has been mentioned by Brian Callahan, by wide receiver coach Ty Tolbert, as somebody that has special teams impact. So take that for what you will. I maybe there's some hidden value, but like I would say, like Brandon says, eventually Colton Dowell last year as a 7th round pick that was fighting for a roster spot was clearly an impactful special teams player during preseason and training camp. You noticed Colton Dowell on special teams making plays. The Titans coaching staff, granted new coaching staff, not a Mike Vrabel coaching staff that prioritized special teams value, but they talked a lot about what Colton Dowell had been doing on special teams. Mm-hmm. Bryce Oliver has not been in that same boat where he has stood out in that regard.
Yeah, Colton Dowell was supposed to be Nick Westbrook-Akine. Like in Nick Westbrook-Akine,
same body type, same all that stuff.
NWI's undrafted free agent rookie camp, he was not a good receiver. Like he couldn't catch the ball. Like I remember there was a practice where NWI dropped 4 passes in one day, and you're like, what? Why? And so and he made the team because of what he showed on special teams. Bryce Oliver's a wide receiver. Brian says Colton Dowell's a freak athlete, and a lot of people are saying that I wouldn't make a dress at or at Youngstown State. That was a joke. People that look like me play special teams at Youngstown State, not me. But I think it's Bryce Oliver's a wide receiver. He's not making the team. He's definitely an option for toughest guy to cut. I agree with you. I think David Martin Robinson's on this football team. He is too impactful, and he has the body type for a special teamer, and the speed and the power and a lot of things to go on special teams. I think the hardest guy for me to cut, if I'm not going to go with Bryce Oliver, I think it is Malik Willis, because of the growth that he's shown from one year to the next. Like I answered the question, I think it was last Monday, has Malik Willis done enough to earn a 53 spot? I said yes, but he's not going to make it. Like Malik winning or having 2 touchdown drives to go ahead and then to come back and win again. Like Malik Willis is not doing that in years past. He didn't have the confidence to do that in years past, but he clearly did today or yesterday. And right now, I think Malik Willis is a tough cut for the Tennessee Titans, but it's just not in the cards. Like I just don't think the Titans and really many other NFL teams need to keep a third quarterback on the active roster.
I mean, let's go to this comment from earlier. Jay says, we don't need 3 on the active roster. Rule allows practice squad QB to be activated. We're going to have to dispel that a little bit because the rule does not allow for a practice squad QB to be activated. In order for a quarterback to dress for a game, basically the rule, like, let's clarify this, right? You get 53 on your active roster.
Mm-hmm.
You do not get 53 that are active on game day. Right? Your full roster is not active on game day. The rule that I believe he's referring to here is the fact that a quarterback could be, 47 on game day, 45? What's the number?
I think it's 46 plus 2 practice squad call-ups to make 48.
So 48. So
I think so.
You can call up Malik from the practice squad and have him active on a game day, but it is one of your 48 or whatever. And you can only do that so many times before you are forced. I believe you can do it 4 times before you are forced to sign that player to the active roster. The rule that the NFL put in place allows for a third quarterback to be active on game day so they can suit up if there's injuries in front of them while not counting against the team's active game day participants. But in order to do that, they must be kept on the 53. So in order to count for the 48 or be on the 48 without counting for the 48, you have to be on the 53. It's something Brian Callahan actually talked about in a press conference very recently, where he was kind of saying the rule didn't really affect the decision that they were going to make at all. He was like, yeah, we still got to keep him on the 53. It'd be great if you just got a free slot for that third quarterback, but you don't. So it doesn't really matter a ton.
Right. So I still think he is one of the hardest cuts. So I think Kinsey's a hard one. Who was the other one? DMR. I think he's on the team. So like the 3 most popular.
DMR's on the team to me. I think, I mean, it will be a tough cut because, it's just an unfortunate situation with Malik in the sense that you've now waited 3 years for him to develop, for him to take a step to be a competent backup. Do I think he's a competent backup? Yeah, I think he could be, but I think he's an unproven backup, and you have a proven backup at this point in Mason Rudolph. You're not going to value Malik Willis over Mason Rudolph with what Mason Rudolph has shown, especially on third downs and in situational football throughout the preseason. And so, maybe the best situation is for him to go somewhere else and be a backup and see if you can find your way onto a 53. But it does stink when a guy has done everything that you would hypothetically ask him to do, when he does show some progress, when he changes his style of play and makes some really positive strides and shows flashes like he did at the end of the game yesterday, for there still to be no room for him on the roster is unfortunate. But I think Malik Willis and Bryce Oliver are in the same boat in that sense of done everything to earn a spot, but the way that the numbers are crunched, I don't see either of them getting a spot.
Yep, I agree. All right, so Sam, I want to ask you a question. If anything's changed from your 53-man roster from Friday morning, we'll get to that here in a second. But first, King VC says, lock in, like the show, hit that like button. Great audience today on this Monday morning. So check in, lock the show, lock in, like the show right there on Facebook and on YouTube for us. That goes a long way. But before we get to Sam's, what he might change, I have something that I think I would change from Friday's show. So I'll ask Sam the same thing, but the Bone and Joint Institute is where you should go for all of your injury needs. boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know where to go to and who you can trust to get back on the road to recovery and not let that injury just hang around and linger. That's just frustrating. It's inconvenient. It's annoying. It's obviously painful. And if you've got something that just popped up, or maybe it's an old injury that's made its way back to you later on in life, the Bone and Joint Institute can help you out. They've done that with me with 3 injuries over the last 4 years. Here I am, turned 30 and got basically 1 injury a year, whether it's my shoulder, my foot, or my knee. Things happen. You go to the Bone and Joint Institute and you get it fixed. boneandjointtn.org is how to book an appointment. Super easy in Franklin off of I-65 on Highway 96, boneandjointtn.org.
Today's show powered by BetMGM. BetMGM is the sportsbook born in Vegas. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM. Get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets when your first bet misses. If your first bet misses, maybe you're lucky out there. Maybe you're a sharp bettor. Maybe you hit on your first bet with BetMGM. But if you don't, they got it. They got you. They're looking out for you. Bonus code ATOZ Sports. Money back into your account in the form of a bonus bet up to $1,500 with the sportsbook born in Vegas. Don't forget to get with them. Don't forget to lock in and like the show, as our guy King Veezy reminds everybody every morning to lock in and like the show. We got a lot of you guys. Good turnout here, but not enough likes, I would say. So, don't forget to like the show here. Is celebrate 3-0 by hitting the like button.
All right. So, Sam, is there anything from your 53-man roster that you did Friday morning on the show that you would change after yesterday's preseason finale with a win over the Saints, 30-27? I'm very curious to see where you're going here. I think I've got one.
No.
Okay.
Barring injuries aside, no.
Sure. If Chance Campbell, which
I wanted to. Campbell thing, it has a chance to completely and I want everybody this. It doesn't count if I got stuff wrong because Chance Campbell was hurt and then they throw somebody else on the roster. That doesn't count. I want that out there now.
Chance Campbell having an MRI on his knee, he looked very frustrated. And I thought, unfortunately, Chance Campbell's a guy who knows what a bad, significant injury feels like in the moment. And that is what I took away from that reaction. And so I don't know I never saw it happen, never saw a replay of what really went wrong. So I don't know.
Let me give you one. I will give you one possible change. It's to the position that you pointed out a potential problem.
Mm-hmm.
Interior defensive line. Quinton Bohanna out. Abdullah Anderson in.
Ooh, yes.
Titans signed him late. He came in. People didn't really know a lot about him. He's been making some plays in practice, and boy, did he flash, in that game, I thought as well, in that second half against New Orleans. So that is the one position that I feel a little bit insecure about, that I don't know if I've got it right or not. So, I'll throw my hand up. I'll take Abdullah Anderson in instead of Quinton Bohanna. It's nothing really anti-Bohanna as much as it is. I love the argument that you made, Austin, about body types and who Bohanna is who Coburn is who Sweat is. And so if Coburn's your backup to Sweat, you might not need a second interior guy with that. Abdullah Anderson, a little bit more of an athletic interior defensive lineman, could offer the Titans something interesting.
He's still a big dude with some really hairy shoulders. I don't know if you've picked up on that or not.
I don't look at his hairy shoulders.
I wasn't trying to. They looked at me first, so I'm just saying that.
But I have him over Isaiah Eiton as Borcast, yes, and to me the NFL experience matters. 33 career games. To be fair, he's gone just about everywhere. From 19 to 23, it was Chicago, Minnesota, Green Bay, Atlanta, Washington, 5 teams in 5 years. But he's played in NFL games for all 5 of them over the last 5 years. He's got 2.5 sacks, 54 tackles, had 40 tackles for the Falcons in 16 games and 8 starts in 2022. He has more NFL experience than an undrafted guy like Isaiah Eiton. And I would give him the edge. He's impressed me in camp, for real.
American Tough, thank you. I'm just glad somebody. He said, dude, his hair was popping out of the jersey. I mean, it was bizarre. I was like, oh gosh, okay. All right, that's something there. All right, so where I think I'm leaning towards making a change, because I do agree. I think your 5 interior D linemen is really tough to predict because of the injuries there. I think inside linebacker, obviously, because of the injuries that are continuing to happen there with Chance Campbell. That's kind of a doesn't count. Everybody's going to get a mulligan on that one. I'll tell you one that I think I'm about done with Rashad Weaver. I think Rashad Weaver doesn't
this is where you were going to go.
Anything for me. I know
he's good against the run.
Is he?
Yeah.
But I know Brian Callahan said he's physical in the run game. I've watched a lot of.
They were really impressed with his performance against Seattle against the run and his ability to set the edge. Hey, I hear you. I've kind of made this argument for a while that your fourth edge maybe isn't on the team, right? Maybe, but he's making the initial roster. You know why? Because the people after him are worse.
Well,
Caleb Murphy.
Caleb Murphy is a one-trick guy, right? And he's good at that.
And he's not very good at it.
I think he's good for a preseason player playing in the second, third, and fourth quarter.
For a guy that's a one-trick guy, which his one trick is sack the quarterback, I don't know if I've called Caleb Murphy's name for a sack throughout the entirety of training camp. I've
noticed it, but he's shown up in the games. Like there's been times
I noticed him showing up in the game as not sacking the quarterback after he gets his hands on him.
No, he was the first one to push the quarterback to allow Shane Ray to get back behind. Like Caleb Murphy met Chance Campbell at the quarterback in the first game off the edge too. Like Caleb Murphy's, I think, done well. And they've talked about on the broadcast quite a bit. Like I like Caleb Murphy. I don't know if the Titans like Caleb Murphy enough for Weaver to be out. Like I saw Paul Karski tweet like, oh, here's the Titans players that played yesterday that didn't record a stat. And Rashad Weaver playing 24 snaps didn't record a stat. Now, not every time is a D lineman going to record a stat, but Weaver's not good in coverage. You saw that on the first Saints third down of the game. Dropped back, lost, couldn't find his zone, got beat. He's not quick off the edge. He's getting better against the run, but I still question his ability to set the edge and keep his outside shoulder free if a running back bounces it to him. He's good at holding his ground, but I think he gets reached a lot to the outside. And that's what I've noticed in the first 2 years that he's played. So he's gotten better there. I just don't think he's very good. I just think he kind of is holding a roster spot.
To me, Weaver's very capable of being a force in the run game. Where Weaver struggled last year was when the Titans had some injuries on the defensive line, when things got a little bit thin at edge, when Weaver felt like he had to make some plays and he would get out of his gaps to go and try and sack the quarterback and would not do what he does best, which is go against the run. You can't look at me with a straight face and tell me Caleb Murphy's a better edge rusher than Rashad Weaver.
Yeah,
He's not. Like Caleb Murphy has not shown me anything. He has not improved at all.
I'm looking at Rashad Weaver though, and it's year 4, and he had the I think it might have been the 1st and 10 right after he dropped in coverage on 3rd and long and gave up that pass. He rushed against the right tackle and he got folded inside, and then the quarterback kind of bounced it out and was able to make a play, and he just he just got like folded like a chair. And just put down.
I'm not saying Weaver's been good. Like, I agree with JQs. We've talked. Jalen Harrell has been better than Weaver. I think Jalen Harrell has surpassed him for sure. The depth behind him is not good. It's tough. I need to call out this guy too. Like, Sam is the enemy of progress. Stop vouching for Avery. Sam, you were a better corner, believe it or not. Look, I am the first person 2 months ago. I told you Trey Avery could get cut by this team. I have said some of these guys suck. What I'm telling you guys, the guys behind them are behind them because they're worse. They are worse at the position. There is not a better corner than Trey Avery after the 4 guys that I've already got before him on the roster. And if you want to throw Gabe Jeudy-Lally in front of Trey Avery, that's fine. Avery's still 6. And he's better than Caleb Farley. Caleb Farley can't move. He doesn't even play defense in practice. He's better than Robert Javier and Tay Gowan, who gets a holding penalty 4 times every practice and then gets sat like a toddler in timeout by Denard Wilson. Like, Trey Avery is your 6th best corner or 5th best corner. And if you're keeping 6, he's on the team whether you like it or not. Rashad Weaver's your 4th best edge rusher. Do the Titans have an edge rusher problem? Oh, yeah. They've got depth issues, but that's what it is. Like, I would love it if they made progress. I'm advocating for them to go and sign players from other organizations to kind of fill some of these voids. But newsflash, I got to make a 53-man roster with the guys in Titans camp, not the guys in camps 31 other places around the league.
Yeah, because they're going to cut to 53.
They
and
cut
then
to 53. They
yeah.
put in some waiver claims. They hope they get their guys, and then they might
make more
some moves.
Yeah, right. They're not going to cut down to 51 and then just like, oh, hope we get 2 waiver guys we want. No, they'll stop at 53 and then add afterwards. I think do you go with Gabe Jeudy-Lally and Eric Garrett over Trey Avery? I mean, the reps and the whole training camp tell you no.
Right.
Is that right? So I just think Rashad Weaver has not. I had higher expectations from Rashad Weaver being an All-American pass rusher from Pitt in the 2021 draft that dropped in the 4th round, and how he looked early. I just don't see really much growth. I think there's better out there to be your 4th edge rusher.
Out there.
Yeah,
is the key to me. Like, I agree with you. Look, I think you can upgrade the position. I just don't think you can do it with guys that are in your camp right now. Gene says Rand Carthon has said the Titans are 7th on the waiver wire. So that is good. That is very good. That probably means you are going to get a player, a impact player, maybe 1, maybe 2, whatever it is. But the Titans are certainly in a position to add to one of these positions of need.
Yep. All right. So look, a lot of good conversations. We have more conversations to have tomorrow because the Titans will have to cut, with every other NFL team, have to cut down to 53 players from 91. I think Thomas Odukoya, sneaky, tough player to cut too on this.
Very tough.
International Pathway Program is once again probably hurting him.
It's hurting. It's like kind of hurting Thomas Odukoya. It helped him early in his career where when he wasn't an NFL player, where he did not deserve a spot on a practice squad, and it allowed him to stay in Titans camp and work out with the team and develop. And now that he has improved and he's absolutely worthy of a practice squad spot and probably worthy of a spot on an active roster, and it's left him in purgatory where the Titans get an exemption. And so they're way less inclined. It's like, you have to not only just prove you're worthy of an active roster spot, you also have to prove you're worthy of the Titans passing on the exemption that they can get, which, is a lot to ask. So
it's a free roster control spot, whether it's 53 or the practice squad.
His exemption has not expired, as Bork asked, but I believe they've got 1 more year of the exemption. This is the last year. And then next year it will have expired.
Yeah. Titans Rossi asked, not sure if y'all talk about this or not, but will Caleb Farley make the 53? No, he will not.
No.
And that'll be an emotionally tough cut, but it's one that they're going to have to make right there. So Caleb Farley not going to make the team. That's pretty clear overall. That would be
tough from a personal
emotional standpoint, like a human element standpoint of that. All right, Sam, let's go ahead and get to the age game where I try to get off the losing schneid. But first, Wilson County Hyundai, that's where you should go to make them a part of your new car buying process. Whenever you need that new ride, Wilson County Hyundai is somewhere that deserves an opportunity for your business. They do phenomenal work in Lebanon, family-owned and operated for a long time by the Payne Bone and his family out there in Lebanon. So save some money on your new ride by going to Wilson County Hyundai or wilsoncountyhyundai.com. So age game time. I suck at this game.
Can he do it?
Can I do it? Probably not. But I am ready to give it another try.
Here's our leaderboard. Reminder of the people that have, picked up some W's, that have ate some W's. Did you see the new Jameis Winston hype speech, Austin?
Oh, I watched it this morning, but I forget the line that he used.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. I just remember it being glorious. Oh, remember when you were at CC's Pizza? Remember that feeling after when you were at CC's Pizza? Yeah, I love Jameis, man. National treasure. There was a brief moment in time this offseason where I thought the Titans were going to sign Jameis to be their backup, and I was happy as a clam about getting to go in the locker room and talk to Jameis Winston. That was exciting to me.
This is a trivia question for the chat. How many slices did I eat at CC's Pizza in high school to finish second in an eating competition? Because this came up last week when Jack and I were on the show. So if somebody will be able to guess it.
34,
Second place.
15,
There's some
34,
close
15,
ones.
38, 34, 14,
We have
38,
a
36,
winner. We have a winner.
Uh-oh. Is it 36?
No, it's not 36, but it is Eric Castillo, 37.
Ooh. 37 slices of Cece's pizza. What kind? What was your go-to Cece's pizza?
And it was look, if you're eating 37, you got to change it up a little bit. It was just about,
Dude.
it was a little bit of everything. But I have to add that we were counting with the crusts because it was a competition. That's the only fair way you can count. So didn't eat the crust, but still, I lost. 43 was the winning.
I gotta say, I went to Cece's all the time. The little game room in the back, top tier.
Mhm.
After church on Sundays, top tier. The underrated thing, one, mac and cheese pizza, fire. The thing that's underrated at Cece's is not the pizza itself. It's that tray of brownies. It's that tray of brownies that sits at the end of the line. That tray of brownies, hey, I'd go like 5 deep. And the best thing about Cece's after church, like parents are over talking to some other parents. I'm back in the game room. There's no supervision going on. I can go 6 deep on brownies if I want, and I can do whatever I want. Like it was, hey, that was a special time, Cece's Pizza.
Yeah, my 37 slices in the eating contest was after a 4 high school inter-squad scrimmage in August of probably 2006, maybe 2005, one of those years. So
yeah,
all right.
Hey, Brandon says the brownies are trash. DeMarco says yes with the powdered sugar, so good. And Trey's on the same page, man. The Cece's powdered sugar brownie tray, what is generational stuff, man. That was something that I'll remember forever.
All right, now let's get to the age game, because congrats, Eric, for having a good memory. And the first one, a couple other people got it correctly with 37, but Eric was first.
All right, here we go. Austin, age game. I'm a stand-up comedy fan. I am a stand-up comedy fan. I watch a lot of clips, and the one person that keeps showing up on my timeline right now is a guy named Adam Ray. And if you're not familiar with Adam Ray is a comic who has made this shtick go famous of him impersonating one Dr. Phil. He does this, we'll be right back. And he looks at the camera and he does this Dr. Phil impression. It's hilarious. He nails it. It has made him blow up, and he's on Kill Tony and all of this other stuff in the comedy world. How old is Dr. Phil, Austin?
Yeah,
how old is the man that he's impersonating?
I don't know if I've seen Dr. Phil in current time in a decade. Dr. Phil has to be.
I deked out the chat, by the way, because we got a bunch of people.
People guessing Adam Ray.
They're in their 30s guessing Adam Ray. No, we need Dr.
Phil. I felt that coming. I didn't fall for that hockey move, Deke. Man, Dr. Phil. I mean, I don't think he's 80. Oh gosh, Jerry Springer passed away like 3 years ago, like 84. Dr. Phil was, I think, had to have been about 10 years younger than Jerry Springer. I'm going to say Dr. Phil is currently 76 years old.
Okay. Jerry Springer passed away at 79.
Dang it.
But he passed away at 79. Yeah, earlier in 2020, in 2023. So about a year ago, he passed away at 79. That I just looked up. Okay, here we go. Let me get to the realistic comments and not the people who are given some age in the 40s. Because, okay, we've got Lucas who says 60. We've got Sean who says 68. We've got a 67. We've got a 64. We've got a 63. Everybody's too low. I'll give you that hint. Everybody's too low. We've got a 64. We've got an 81. That's too high. We've got a 69. Still too low. 61, 64, 59, 68, 62, 64, 67. We've got a 71. You guys are still too low on Dr. Phil. The man is in his 70s. Any of these 60s guesses, hello, ladies, at 72, you're too low. 67, low at 67. 57, 65, too low. 70, too low. 71, too low. 79 is too high.
Oh my God, my heart rate is I am racing right now.
The correct answer, Dr. Phil's age is 73 years old. Brad Anderson got it very early. He sniped it. Dr. Phil is 73. Austin does not break the age game.
Do this.
I thought you had it. So you had said for a minute, Brad, let's see. Yeah, new to the leaderboard. We got a new.
Yep.
Love that for Brad.
And Anthony Malley is now 3 times. Yeah.
You said Jerry Springer died at 84, and you felt like Dr. Phil was around 10 years younger than Jerry Springer. And I was like, uh-oh, he's in the neighborhood. He's at like 74, 73, and then you went the other way.
Yeah. Well, I thought Springer died in 2021 or 22, so I added 2 years to 84, which is how I got to 76.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought you were there for a minute. I thought we were about to get a nice pull. I got to say this, by the way. Anybody in the chat, if you think you got it first, Joshua says he got it first. Hey, unfortunately, you did not. We have to go by what we see on our chat, right? So it might read for you. Your comment might pop up for you sooner than somebody else's. I promise. We read the first comment. I pick the first comment that pops up for.
We've got one stream that pulls every comment in the one in
it
order.
Has Facebook and YouTube together, and maybe there's a difference between Facebook and YouTube. You might not see a Facebook comment if you're on YouTube, and vice versa. But yeah.
You really set me up to think I was.
Yeah, it was a good one. Yeah, I did like the.
You deked me on that
one. Wrong.
God. And here's the thing, like Bernie says, give Austin a bonus guess, right? Like, yeah, I mean, like I get one guess. The chat can throw in like all different types of guesses.
That's true,
right? I just get one shot.
Listen, I think we would lose something on the show a little bit when you get it right.
No, I'm not asking for more guesses.
I'm just saying, like you get it right, and the weekly age game bit, it becomes far less entertaining than Austin getting it wrong every week.
Yes, that's part of the charm.
How old is Adam Ray? That's a great question.
No, save it. I mean, I'll probably look it up.
Well, we're not going to do Adam Ray. People, you'd be like, I don't know who that is. He's 42. I was going to do Adam Ray, but then I was like, Austin's not going to know who that is.
I know who Adam Ray is. Okay.
You didn't know who I gave you last week, and you were all upset about it.
Jake says, "How old is Austin? He's the only one he's going to get it." Like, I know how old I know how old everybody in the company is because I do the payroll. So, like, I could do that pretty well.
There you go. I could not.
No, you would have no reason to know.
I always think people are younger than they actually are.
They are, and especially in our company. So.
No, but like in general, like I'll see somebody, I'll be like, yeah, you seem like you're like 26. They're like, I'm 35.
Yeah. Titans Kyle, Austin, guess my age. Yeah, I'm not. Based on that, I have no idea what that is.
Titans Kyle clearly is 33 from his photo.
Yeah, but when's the last time he changed his Facebook or his YouTube picture?
It's a great point. Point.
Exactly. All right, guys, that's it for us on this Monday. Make sure you hit that like button, like the show before you go. Great show here on this Monday. You can feel it in the air. The preseason is over. Cuts are going to happen tomorrow by 3 p.m. on that Tuesday. And we're here to talk about every storyline and narrative that changed. So make sure you hit that like button. Buck Rising live back tonight, A to Z Sports Prime Time. Late flight, quick flight time. Didn't allow Buck to have a primetime show last night, but he'll be back tonight for A to Z Prime Time. We'll catch you guys later on. Appreciate it as always.